Okay, hello everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us on our webinar today. My name is Sara Pearson and I head up our North American division here based out of Vancouver, Canada. Today we have a special guest joining us. We have Jon Sherman from Sticky's Finger Joint, the co-founder and CEO. He's going to share a bit about his background and talk to us about the food industry and how it's been affected by COVID-19. COREcruitment has been operating a series of webinars over the past couple of months. We've done about 40 and have over 55,000 views to date, which is pretty impressive. If you're interested in taking part in one of our webinars or would like to be here on one of our panels, please reach out to myself or one of our team. So Jon, just before we get into the questions, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and share us the Sticky story, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for having me, Sarah. So just a little bit of background. Sticky's is a boneless fried chicken concept where we make fried and grilled chicken from scratch in every restaurant, and we serve them with 18 homemade dipping sauces, also made from scratch in every restaurant. So, you know, a kind of comfort food, but with higher quality premium ingredients and some pushing the envelope on some of the flavors as well. So, you know, we founded the business in 2012 in the Greenwich Village neighborhood of New York City in Manhattan, and now we have 12 locations, 9 of which are in New York City and 3 of which are in New Jersey.
Awesome. And can you tell us a bit about kind of your background and kind of how you got into Sticky's and kind of where that all came from?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I actually had a finance background before this, so I worked for a little bit at a bank, and then I worked at a hedge fund for some years. And you know, really, Sticky's was born just out of an idea and a strong passion and belief that, you know, that New York City was really eager for some great chicken fingers, and that no one was really serving them. So, you know, we really felt there was a beloved item, and that, you know, there's an opportunity to really innovate there. So, I was also young and naive about what it takes to run a restaurant, and you know, kind of jumped right in and left the finance world behind.
Okay, and the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll just kind of hop into some of the questions here now. So where do you think the U.S. kind of food service industry is now, and how do you think it's reacted and adapted to the pandemic?
Well, you know, it's facing a lot of challenges. You know, I think certainly you know, the reaction has been different in different parts of the country, as you know, not only, you know, where kind of concentration of where the pandemic hit, but also just the lifestyles of those areas. You know, I can speak for New York City, which is, you know, uniquely positioned where not only, you know, do we have a high concentration of COVID cases, but also, you know, just a kind of a New York City lifestyle where people are in normal circumstances, you know, densely packed together all over each other, you know, whether it's going out for lunch and going into a packed restaurant, waiting online, or going out to a bar or restaurant, just you're constantly around a lot of people. That's kind of the energy and beauty of New York City, which has been, you know, kind of temporarily taken away from us. So, you know, I think within New York, it is just, you know, it's obviously affected different types of restaurants differently. If you're a full service restaurant, you know, where all of your business is happening inside your restaurant, or even more so a bar, you know, they've been put in a real challenging position of how to, you know, keep their business going in, you know, in the face of this. For us, you know, thankfully, we went into the pandemic already having a large off-premise business. You know, delivery and kind of digital sales were already a large part of our business, and so having to lean on those, you know, obviously we're still in a position where we're not anywhere near the business that we had before this, but you know, at least we had those areas of our business developed that we could lean on them. You know, we have small restaurants with very limited dining rooms, so you know, having to close our dining rooms wasn't great, obviously, but you know, given that most of the food that we served wasn't being eaten in our dining room before the pandemic, you know, allowed us to adapt to the new world a little bit smoother than others.
Yeah, absolutely. Which sectors would you kind of forecast like emerging and kind of coming out of these out of the pandemic, I guess?
You know, look, at the end of the day, people want to congregate. People want to have experiences. I think one of the biggest trends we've seen in the economy as a whole, but also, specifically in the hospitality industry, is kind of people paying for experiences over paying for belongings. And so, while, this has been a big kind of detour for that, I still believe that sentiment is there. So, I think as people get used to the kind of new world that we're living in, some of the full service restaurant and the nightlife industry, they're the hardest hit right now. But I do think there's a path for them to come back. It's just going to take a lot of creativity and ingenuity and, rethinking how they can deliver that experience while keeping people comfortable. So, certainly it's a challenging road ahead, for everyone, but particularly for, full service and nightlife. But it's just going to really push, those who are able to really innovate, are going to be the ones who come out of this strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you think the hospitality market is going to manage like social distancing, and like what tools and techniques are they putting in place to make people feel safe and comfortable to dine in?
Yeah, so first and foremost, when this first happened, we kind of looked at everything that we could do procedurally to keep our restaurants clean and sanitized, and everything we could do to keep guests feeling comfortable. Because even though we closed our dining rooms, a guest can still walk in and grab a pickup order.
Yeah.
And so, it started with kind of cleaning and hygiene. We put in very strict procedures around sanitizing, basically nonstop sanitizing of every area that a customer or even a team member could touch. And so, obviously we have, all of our teams in face masks and always in gloves when they're handling anything. And again, just really over the top, just sanitizing every possible area of the restaurant. We're also in process to put in some UV lights installed in some of our restaurants to just kind of an added layer of trying to kill the virus, so to speak, if it were to exist. And I think, one other thing that we've done is, to try to keep our customers from feeling comfortable around each other is, we've kind of marked off spaces on, using kind of some decals on the floor to try to guide our customers. So when they do come in to get, that they keep a healthy distance from each other. We've already trained our staff on what they can do to try to be safe, socially distancing from each other while they work, which is a challenge, but, we're working through it. And I think, we've gotten it to a relatively good place, and, trying to do that with our customers as well. I think as we think about opening up dining rooms, which in New York City, we are not there yet, but at some point, New York City is going to give guidance that you can open up dining rooms with certain restrictions. And, I've already read through what that's going to look like. And, we're kind of thinking through how can we do that and maybe even go above and beyond that, just to make sure that our customers and our guests feel comfortable, because that's really what it's all about.
Yeah,
and so, I know, whether it's going to be putting up, only allowing certain tables to open and kind of space, maybe open with half your tables open and you kind of skip every other table, or, potentially putting up some kind of barricade in between, some kind of protective, plexiglass or something like that in between booths to, those are what the guidelines are. And, for us, especially in New York City, where each store is a little bit of a different shape and each dining room is a little bit of a different setup, we really have to think about it as a different case for every restaurant, and what we can do to fit that space and to keep people comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd mentioned the UV lights. Is there any kind of other technology you guys have been looking at? I know there's a lot of different ideas and IT solutions that are coming, or technology solutions that were coming out. Any other kind of interesting things you've come across?
I've seen a couple, that people are kind of exploring different things. Nothing, I don't know if there's necessarily like a one-off, a kind of perfect solution for this. One thing that we're also rolling out is kind of, taking temperatures of our staff, digital thermometers. I think what we've already had in place is, we've been, from the moment this started, just really over communicating with everyone on our team about, their health and kind of at any sign of any sort of symptom or any exposure to anyone who, who's positive, to really take every precaution they can to stay home, get better, and so. But I think this would be kind of an additional layer of just ensuring that we're doing everything in our power to keep our team safe and to keep our guests safe.
Okay, great. And what changes do you forecast from the industry in terms of like a labor perspective? I know there's been a lot of teams have been off on furlough in terms of getting people back into work. There's been a lot of government support and things out there. How has it been for you? Have you had to furlough many of your team and bringing them back, or what's that been like for you guys?
We've luckily been able to keep a good chunk of our team intact at the restaurant level and also at our corporate level. But we have had to so we had a few people kind of take a voluntary separation from our restaurants and also furloughed a handful of people. And at the end of the day, as we sit here today on June 12th, there's still a lot of uncertainty on what the path to kind of full health, financial health looks like, especially considering we're a New York City-based restaurant. New York City today looks and feels a lot different than it did before the pandemic, and it really comes down to kind of a supply and demand, like any other sector of the economy. And so with the number of people who are in Manhattan on any given day is just so much less than it was before this, and so as a result of that, there's the total restaurant sales are just drastically down in Manhattan. And going up to this point, we're a growing company. We opened up, we doubled in size last year, and we were kind of primed for continued growth. And and as a part of that, we made a lot of investments in kind of the in our team and our corporate infrastructure to support that growth. And now we're at a point where we made those investments with a business of a certain size, and now we have a smaller business right now. It will come back, but when is I don't, no one knows at this point. But we're certainly not there yet in New York City.
And what about the government support? How have you found, has it been useful for you? Have you benefited from it at all?
Well, a lot of our employees our employees who kind of took our voluntary separation have benefited from the enhanced unemployment benefits. I know a lot of restaurants, particularly restaurants who have closed, have concerns around being able to bring their teams back, given that there's the unemployment benefits that you're getting are a lot higher than normal, and so it's kind of, there's not a great incentive to come back to work when you can make a similar amount of money from not working. Those won't last forever, but for now, that's still the case. And then look, the government put out their kind of small business stimulus through the payroll protection program, and I think that helped a lot of businesses. And I think we've seen some reopen who probably got some of those funds. But I mean, at the end of the day, they were there to cover 8 weeks worth of payroll, and this is not an 8-week problem. So this is we've already been going on for however many weeks we are into this already, and while we've seen some rebound since the kind of the worst of it in late March and early April, but again, we're still nowhere near what our business was pre-COVID, and it still feels like it's going to be a long road back to that. And so 8 weeks is really a drop in the bucket as we think about what is the real period that we're going to be affected for.
Yeah, absolutely. We've heard some other people we were speaking to from the fast casual side of things were saying they've had to even increase their hourly wages to kind of get some people into work. I don't know if that's something you guys have had to look at.
Well, so because we never really closed our restaurants, we weren't faced with this challenge of bringing people back. But just understanding kind of all of the stress and anxiety of coming to work in New York City, we have been giving our team member, all of our restaurant team members, bonuses, monthly bonuses of just kind of thank you for continuing to come into work.
Oh, great.
And we appreciate the kind of added effort and stress around coming into work. And so, when what was really moving for me really at the beginning of this, as we saw our sales kind of falling off the cliff, before, we wanted to react too quickly, rather than kind of saying, okay, we need to, let go of X number of people, we, before we did that, we actually just we decided we wanted to call each and every employee in the company and ask them how they're feeling, explain to them what the enhanced unemployment benefits look like, uh, also explain to them what additional benefits we were offering, in the form of paid out, paying out all unused sick pay and PTO, and just ask, you know, do you still want to come to work with all this information? Because if you're not comfortable, there's the other option of letting us know that is looks pretty good right now. And we did get an overwhelming response that people wanted to continue to work. And so it was obviously we had some employees decided not to, but the vast majority wanted to come to work. We've done everything that we can to listen to their concerns and try to address them as quickly as we can, and really keep the communication open. And so it's the response that we've gotten from our team has been incredible. And so I think this thing is still ongoing, but I'm really thankful for the team that we have had. And so we've tried to do everything we can to show our support and appreciation, but we have not been faced with the challenge of trying to bring everyone back, because we never let them go. But I can only imagine, I certainly hear from a lot of other businesses who've tried to reopen and facing those challenges.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that is a big challenge that's going to face the industry right now.
Yeah. And Jon, what would you say is one positive thing that you could take away from the pandemic?
Look, I'm an optimist, and I like to see kind of the positives and the silver lining in every scenario. Obviously, what's been happening is horrible, and but the positives that I take from it, I think it has kind of really forced people to take a step back and think about what's important. And also, I think it's put a kind of premium on things that, we should really be doing better already. So, I think, one area was just overall communication, right? Communication from our management to our teams, and really having an open dialogue around what are the needs of our employees, and how can we be meeting them. And I think that I think we did a good job of that before, but I think this really forced us to really put in an extra effort into that, and really put a focus into that. And I just think, thinking about long term, I just think that's great anyway. Even as we were calling all of our employees, few of us on the management team, we kind of said, okay, we had around 170 restaurant employees, and we're like, okay, we're just going to all call them directly. We'll split them up. We'll each call.
Oh,
And just having those conversations with so many of our restaurant employees, a lot of them who I've met briefly, some of them longer tenured ones, I know much better, but because we've been growing so much, it was really great to just have that opportunity to connect directly with so many of our team members in such a personal way. And a big takeaway was like, what, this was great, and we all felt great about it, and I know our team members appreciated it. So this is something that we should be doing always, regardless of kind of in a pandemic response. Another area where it kind of forced us to get sharper was just really trying to create real-time visibility into our business. We have a whole financial process where we look at kind of previously kind of like monthly profit and loss and that kind of thing, but because things were moving so quickly and we're trying to make real-time decisions based off of understanding kind of where our business is, it really forced us to look at everything closer and really understand kind of the trends, as they played out real time. Because we didn't have the time to say, okay, let's look at the last month and see what the results were, and like things were just moving so quickly that we needed to see, we needed to get information real time. And again, I think that is a great practice to have in general, and I think it's kind of forced us to do the thing that is good for us anyway, and will only help our business in the long run.
Great. And is there any advice that you'd want to share with any other kind of industry professionals out there?
Look, every business and is kind of dealing with their own set of circumstances. Obviously, a lot of them in the restaurant industry are similar. We all have kind of the similar headwinds of where we don't have the same kind of business that we had before this. And so I think, look, everyone has to be ready to adapt and constantly be thinking about not just where you are today, but where do you need to get to, and what is it going to take to get there? And I think in a lot of businesses' response here, it kind of just forced you to think outside the box. I think even customers are probably going to be more open-minded to seeing businesses do different things that maybe in normal circumstances would be like, oh wow, that seems wacky. But I think now is kind of an opportunity to really think outside the box and do some things with your business that maybe you wouldn't have considered before this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jon. Well, that finishes up kind of our interview questions here today. So I just wanted to say a big thank you for joining us, and
Thank you.
thank you for your comments and feedback. Appreciate it.
Of course. All right. Take care, Sarah.